Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed Pop the Trunk Podcast Hall of Fame, back from the dead to reclaim the throne and lead the people that he once led. I am, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, and this is Recency Bias Radio, your number one source for everything concerning the challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, and this is my epic return. And ladies and gentlemen, this will be Season 35, Total Madness' 7th rant, entitled Photo Finish. And I am, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trill, the Rant God, the new and improved Infinity Gauntlet Hotep Thanos, Metro Kaiba, all of the above on that ISET test, and ACT. You know what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another challenge rant. They thought they got rid of us, coach. They thought they got rid of us. Nah, you feel me? I got the 45 jersey on. Oh, we got a lot of stuff to discuss tonight. Now, quick disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the final challenge rant that will be on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a teaser, a taster for what you can expect when you become an RBR patron. So if you like what you're watching, do not hesitate to go ahead and go to patreon.com/recency bias radio. But now that we've gotten the plug and the business side of the way, now we can get into that hot shit y'all prefer, huh? Man, I just got done watching this episode and I'm gonna keep it a bean with y'all. When I took a step back away from YouTube, I didn't watch any more challenge. Mainly because if I'm not gonna rant on it, and because I didn't really have the time to really watch it live, I didn't really see the purpose. I like to let a TV show build up. That way I can binge it. So what you can expect is that although a lot of these rants will be pre-recorded, they will also come out in a lot more rapid rate because I'm behind currently, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully that is a trade-off y'all can deal with. Now, there are two current things that I would like to address before I even get into breaking down the 7th episode of Total Madness. Number one, what happened to D Win? I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, coach. I have a huge problem with D being the face for anti-black racism MTV. I have a huge problem with that. And see, I feel as if MTV picked the most opportunistic moment to throw her under the bus because there was no Hotep Thanos or Recency Bias Radio to call them out on their bullshit. Well, now that I don't have to worry about YouTube censoring me, because I have patrons who are willing to pay for my hard work, now I can say what's on my mind all the time. I don't have to ever hold my tongue. And now I can keep it all the way a bean with y'all. And I know this is refreshing for some of y'all. Just to see me, just to hear me, just to feel the energy that I bring. But ladies and gentlemen, I have a huge problem with D being the face for anti-black racism. Now, this is an old topic. And I know most of y'all already know the ins and outs of it, but this is for the people that may not be into the challenge, that may only be into my rant concerning the challenge. Trust me, there is a contingency of people who are only into me discussing the challenge. They don't even watch the show, right? And for that, I respect you. I salute you, okay? But what you all need to understand is D is an Asian Pacific Islander from Australia, I believe. Now, understand, she cracked a joke on Twitter, I believe, regarding essentially her saying she was being cheeky. She was essentially saying she lost her virginity to a black guy, so she knows Black Lives Matter. Now, as a black man, and I think I can speak for tons of black people when I say, what D said wasn't worth the outrage it came from. In fact, the majority of the people that threw her under the bus for those comments weren't even black folks. Yeah, black folks had a problem with it because that was in peak outrage mode because of what happened, of course, to the brother. You know, I don't want to really get into him and get into those protests because my Patreon members, they know how I feel about the protests, okay? And please believe, even though I'm wearing this shirt, I do not support the organization. I support the idea in theory that Black Lives Matter. But that does not mean I support the organization. So I want to make that point clear as well. Now, with that said, I find it very insincere of MTV as a corporation and a company, along with Viacom, who runs MTV, Because you have to understand something. Viacom are behind Big Brother on CBS. They're behind The Challenge on MTV. Okay? They've always been behind MTV. Now, I don't know if they've always been behind CBS. I know at one point Viacom may have had something to do with NBC. All right, that's a little above my tax bracket. Basically, what I'm trying to tell y'all is there's a huge conflict of interest right now, and there's a lot of projection going on right now. Right now, it behooves production to find a scapegoat, right? Because right now, especially at the peak of the protests a month or a month and a half ago, I'd say, the majority of people were just sick of being quarantined. They were looking for an excuse to get out. So some people didn't even care about the Black Lives Movement. They didn't even care about black people anyway. A lot of people hijack the movement for their own reasons. Now, I'd argue MTV did this. Now, let me explain. So you mean to tell me Georgia wore blackface and y'all never banned her permanently from your show? Jordan made monkey noises towards a black woman on Real World. That didn't get him banned from MTV shows. Bananas and his cousin Vince went out of their way to call Cheyenne a stereotypically racist black woman nickname. That didn't get them shitted on by MTV. But we understand Bananas is the golden boy, so he can do no wrong, but at least his cousin Vince wasn't brought back. At least they saw he was expendable, at least. But let's be real, he was only brought along because they thought he would be strong enough to handle the heavy lifting that Bananas couldn't. But anyway, I don't want to lose sight of the D situation. What I want y'all to understand is the purpose behind making D the clear scapegoat for anti-black racism when there has been countless white players, white alumni that are still production pets till this day. Shoutouts to Deontay Wilder. It is very hypocritical for y'all to just wait for these protests to pop off and go, oh, D, you fucked up. You're the face of it. When Georgia actually put blackface on. I don't see MTV going out of their way ever to take a character out of the edit of a TV show. But they'll do it for D. Now ask yourself, what makes D any different? D won a season. But I'd argue D is getting turboed here. Go deeper, Dave. D is a winner they didn't want to win, but they had to allow to win because she was helping the people they wanted to win. CT. So understand, and Jordan, so understand, ladies and gentlemen, D wouldn't have been allowed to win her season if it wasn't a teams-based season. But because she won, they decided to bring her back down to earth because naturally she's riding on a high coming off of a challenge win. Now, for D to be a non-white, non-productions pet and be painted in the light as someone who is the most racist towards black people in the challenge based off how they reacted, ladies and gentlemen, that is not only insincere, that is disrespectful and is condescending to the intelligence of the black fan base. But MTV assumes we are stupid because a guy like me wasn't around anymore to hold them accountable. And that's when they decided to pull this shit. So I'm saying all this to say to y'all, don't be fooled. I'm seeing a whole bunch of people like Jimmy. Oh, guys, we understand other white people have done bad things, but you need to give production and MTV credit for at least cracking down on someone. Easy for you to say, Jimmy. I mean, you're not on the show these days. You probably would love that paycheck. You're just kissing kneecaps yourself. We have no idea how many players have said racist shit that didn't even make the edit. And in tonight's episode, in tonight's rant, I'm gonna break down how production systematically forces other players, when their pets are toxic, when their pets are disrespectful, they figure out ways to force players, even if they're on the other side of the game strategically, to act like that's acceptable. For example, Nany. Ratchet Ramen Noodle Cup Nany. She strikes again. Isn't it funny? I was the first one last season to come up with that nickname, Ramen Noodle Cup Nany, and she goes and does the same thing this season. See, it's like I can predict these things. But isn't it interesting how Nany can throw a hot noodle cup at someone? She can chastise them for their past of being naked for money, and yet no one goes off on her like they go off on Nelson. If Nelson goes off on a woman, he's the villain of the season. But if Zach and Jordan treat Bailey, Ninja, and Cara Maria like shit, they get heroic music. So this is the same production team that does that, trying to convince us they've turned the page? Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much damage control happening only because these corporations and companies have no choice. If you change because you don't have a choice, you didn't change because you honestly wanted to. So those are my thoughts initially on that D situation, y'all. You know, if y'all are gonna go ahead and after the fact edit someone out, one has to wonder, what other things did you do after the fact simply because you were angry with someone? Could you have lied on Paulie's psych exam so he couldn't be allowed on 35? Just so you could force certain players to not be able to pivot the way they should have? Which could have helped your pets move further in the game because there was no Paulie and Cara to be in their way as a roadblock? See, I'm bringing up valid points here, and I'm trying my best not to be emotional. Because I truly believe logic conquers everything. Now, another thing I want to mention. MTV has renewed the challenge for a 36th season. Congrats. That's pretty dope. But the thing that I find the most interesting about them renewing it is the fact that they admitted their Red Skull twist was trash. Wasn't I one of the first people to go ahead and point that out? I think MTV been watching me. Because all of the suggestions I've thrown out there seems to be the rumored changes and amendments that is happening for 36. Okay, now that I've addressed some of the current events, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into season 35, episode 7. You want to hear my thoughts on the strategy. That's what you're here for. And since that's what you're here for, I'm not going to make you wait any longer, baby. So the episode kicks off right where my last rant ended, ladies and gentlemen. Jenna is conflicted because of Zach's toxicity and insecurities. And if you don't know, the rumor and the scuttlebug on the street is that Jenna may have had some type of romance with Corey Wharton. That's what people are saying. And honestly, this fits right in with Zach's character to be that angry with Jenna to basically tell her, hey, quit the season right now and come home or we're done. Corey's in a bunker with her. Okay? So those rumors are starting to feel more realistic and more true based off of the context of why Zach is so butthurt about her being on this season specifically. You feel me? Now, Tori and Jordan both expect Tori to go in versus Jenna, which ends up happening. Nany wants Jenna to avoid the smoke entirely and have the tribunal vote in Jenny to face Tori so Tori can knock her out. But of course, Nany is a total coward, ladies and gentlemen. And she doesn't want not Jenny. Yeah, she doesn't want Jenny to come after her. Jenny. Names are so similar. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. She doesn't want Jenny to come after her. It's that simple. Now, the Holy Trinity are really a trifecta of cowards here, because each of them are just dumb. Now, the scene segues and you see Josh and Casey talking some game to each other. Clearly they're giving Tori some moral support here. And the first thing that came to my mind was, how are they so close to Tori? Well, I could see why Josh is, but how is Casey this close to Tori, right? Like, Casey did the majority of the talking here. Now, you know, I'm aware of the fact that Josh kissed Tori and Jordan's ass last season until the cows came home, and that's part of the reason why Paulie failed a psych exam, okay? And I really want to keep driving that point home. We can't trust that Paulie truly failed that psych exam, knowing what we know about how they just did D. Because if they're against you, if they don't like you because of some other reason, then they'll find a reason to not fuck with you. And unfortunately, they did D just like I'm willing to bet they did Paulie and Cara, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want y'all to pay close attention to how Josh allows KC to be cool with whoever she wants and doesn't let that impact his relationship with her. But anybody else from Big Brother that happens to be black, he makes guilty by association, regardless who they are cool with. I want to drive this point home because, let's be real, I didn't watch these episodes, but I know there's gonna come a point when Josh and Swaley go at it, so I'm just planting the seeds in a future episode when that does happen. It could be the next rant, I'm not sure, to be completely honest with you. Now, Bailey is clearly still mad about all the things Jordan said to her. We are led to believe Jordan said some things that didn't make it on television, which goes back to my point that they cover up for their pets. That was part of my opening monologue, but I'm not gonna rehash that old talking point. But essentially, Bailey does not want to rock the boat too hard, and this is where I'll give Bailey and Swaggy credit, because when they were in the club, production wants to label Bailey as the angry black woman stereotype. Swaggy has done a great job of rebranding himself as mainly just an intellectual that just happens to be athletic. He's kind of positioned himself in the edit to be that type of a player, so he doesn't really have to worry about the angry black man stereotype. But to be fair, Bailey is getting a lot more visibility, so it's more likely they're going to paint her with that light than Swaggy, if I'm being fair. But at the same time, though, we have to be honest with ourselves. This was a fantastic move by Swaley to bury the hatchet with Jordan and Tori right before Tori gets eliminated, so Jordan doesn't have no beef with Swaggy heading into next week's episode. So I think it's good on several levels. So that's something that I want to mention. Aneesa is looking to pivot because she feels on the outside of the Holy Trinity Alliance. It's funny, she felt like she was on the outside, and then the fight between her and Nany started to kick off, you know what I'm saying? And it's almost as if Nany, the minute Aneesa started creating some separation, started to get closer to maybe a Swaley or maybe just a Bailey. It's interesting how all of a sudden Nany wants to be in this fake lesbian showmance with KC. When are we going to hold Nany accountable for reusing the same strategy every single season? She does the same thing, okay? She comes into the game with a pregame alliance that's sponsored by production. Let's keep it a bean, okay? Her alliance fails and they fall on their face. She's the last one left because usually she's the weakest out of all of her pregame alliances in every season. This leads to her attaching herself as a dependent player to another dependent player who also lost everyone in their pregame alliance. And then the both of them act like they're best friends when they weren't on day one. She does the same strategy over and over. She did it with Josh last season. She does it with Casey this season. Okay? Whatever LGBT BB alumni shows up on the challenge next, she'll probably do it with them. Because she did it with them. You see what I'm saying, coach? But that's neither here nor there. Now, let's continue. I do want to give Aneesa some credit for pivoting with Bailey here, mainly because earlier in the season, I questioned Aneesa being off code for the way that she kind of went out of her way to just throw shade at their bed sheets, or what was that, a comforter that had their likeness on it? Look, I thought from a strategic standpoint it was in poor taste. But other than that, I thought her just shitting on it, I thought it wasn't warranted, But with that said, for her to realize her win conditions, and for her to approach Bailey with some level of humility, and for her and Bailey to realize that they both need each other moving forward in this game for one reason or another, I think that was very wise of both of them. Matter of fact, for Bailey to figure out a way to work with Aneesa and also figure out a way to bury the hatchet and maybe work with Tori if she would have taken out Jenna. I'd argue Bailey set herself up to be in such a good position if Tori took out Jenna. It's kind of crazy. I'm happy Tori is gone because I can't stand Jordan or Tori, but maybe it would have been better off in the long run for Swaley if Tori would have stayed. We don't know, but we'll get into that purgatory challenge in a second. Don't. Hey, man, y'all enjoy yourselves. Get a nice cold beverage, coach. I know this feels like we going down memory lane, coach. I know this is straight euphoria. No moisture, though. You will dig me, coach. Now, the Holy Trinity approach Wes, Bananas, and Kyle to establish some sort of a majority vote to go in their favor with the House vote. Essentially, they wanted to vote against Tori going in, but eventually the majority already decided for everyone Tori was going to go in. So at that point, everyone basically just folded. I mean, and then this sparked an argument between Nelson and Kayla. And see, this is so funny to me. Nelson is apologizing to Anissa for essentially telling her she quit on the last challenge and she lost it on purpose. He's apologizing to her, saying he's going to change his ways and he's not going to do that ever again to another woman. And literally like 2 minutes later, he's shitting on Kayla's entire life. And I got to keep driving this point home. Kayla and Nelson would not have a beef if Kayla didn't volunteer information about Banana's blind side to Nelson. She made that mistake. She could have pulled Corey over to the side by himself and shared that information with him alone, and then Corey could have decided whether he wanted to share it with Nelson. Most likely, Corey would have held on to that information because it would have given him some social equity, and it would have created more trust between the Holy Trinity Alliance and Corey moving forward. It would have been his ace in the hole to make sure they would never vote him in over Nelson. You see what I'm saying? Unless he wanted to be voted in, of course. So I have a feeling Corey would have implemented this a lot differently, and we have reason to believe he would have because he was the one who took the women's side over Nelson's when the fight first jumped off during the episode when they tried to blindside Bananas. So understand, ladies and gentlemen, Corey is showing me in this episode he is in control of the game right now. 100%. I mean, it's not even a question at this point. He is 100% in control of the game. Now, let's get to the fight. So, you know, Nelson apologizes to Anissa, and then Kayla interrupts him, and she basically says, oh, it's not set in stone that Tori will take out Jenna. Jenna is not going to fall on her sword. Jenna isn't 1 foot out, blah, 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 blah. Now, Kayla was right in hindsight, but at the end of the day, this leads to Nelson just straight up telling her about herself. Telling her, hey, you know, as Bear would say, you're a slag. You know, he essentially called her a slag that lets dude hit it in a porta potty. I mean, bruh, that's more... Listen. Hey man, I know prostitutes that won't do that, okay? Now, I'm not saying Kayla is one. I'm just saying that if that is true, and all signs point to it probably is true because Nelson is really close to Corey, and honestly, whatever tea Nelson has on Kayla is probably coming from Corey, okay? Let's keep it a bean. So for Bear to stick up for Kayla and act like he's some white knight when he's the one who helped her contribute and cheated on her boyfriend, and then you got her trying to defend her honor as not being a slut, but she admits to the entire world right after this fight that she has a great boyfriend who wants to wife her, but she doesn't think she's wife material, you're essentially admitting you're what Nelson said you were. Then she tries to compare herself to Jenna later in the episode by saying they're very similar because they both have boyfriends at home. You're nothing like Jenna, Kayla. Jenna has a shitty boyfriend that she would wish would propose to her, that she would wish be loyal to her, right? Jenna is the woman you want a wife. Kayla is the girl who found a simp in all likelihood, who accepted her for all of her negative aspects, who probably worships her dirty draws that she probably feels is boring, and that's why she doesn't want to be his wife. Let's just call it what it is. And at the end of the day, some women aren't happy when the man is all crazy about them. Some women only chase men that could give a fuck about them. That's the truth. And when you realize what type of woman that is, you stay away. You don't gotta shit on her, right? You don't have to do anything from a domestic violence standpoint. You don't have to disrespect her. Just get your stuff and get the fuck out of that jam, because she's gonna drag you down with her, coach. And the funniest thing, and I'm gonna get back to the whole Nelson side of this, but the funniest thing about all of this is you got Nany, who fights with Anissa later in this episode, and she essentially shits on this girl for essentially making money off of selling her body. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, Nany, do you not realize that you're inadvertently shitting on Kayla, who has an OnlyFans account? Like, like, I'm over here looking at this like, Nany, you're an alcoholic because you don't even realize the stuff you say. If this was a rap beef, you just hit the entire bunker with a double entendre, coach. You feel it, dig me? You just dissed 2 people with 1 bar, and you was only meaning to diss 1. That just go to show how wasted you are, Nany. You feel me? And at the end of the day, you got Nany talking about, oh, I'm real stressed out. Like, how stressed out can you be? Your alliance is still intact while everyone else's alliance is being hacked off left and right? You still got Bananas in the game, who's always a pregame alliance for you, and he's in the closest guy to being in control of the game next to Wes and Corey. I don't see what your problem is, right? Oh, well, Jenna, oh man, poor me. Me and Jenna are part of the tribunal, and Jenna wants to go in, and Jenna's having problems with Zach, and see, that's my problem. How are you stressed out because you actually have an alliance and have power? Wasn't she stressed out last season when she had no alliance anymore and had no power? So this is proof she's stressed out whether she's in control or not, simply because she's a terrible player. It has nothing to do with what situation she's currently in from a power vacuum standpoint. It has everything to do with her character and her inability to use her power vacuum well. She is not capable of pivoting successfully. Every move she does is based on emotion. And that's why her and Josh get along. Josh is the male version of her. She's the female version of him. They're essentially 1 and 1. Now, essentially, Tori, she gives her case for why everyone should vote for her. And Wes ain't buying this shit. And really Nelson ain't, because he's under the impression if you vote in Tori, you're essentially just handing her a red skull, because Jenna, she's broken at this point. She's not feeling it. I kind of agree with both of them here. But at the same time, the politics dictated that you went ahead and made this unanimous vote. It really didn't make any sense to vote for another girl just for the sake of it. You don't want to make an enemy out of Jordan and Tori this early in the game. And I think that's why Corey went and voted for Tori himself. But you notice as soon as Tori got eliminated, what did Corey say? It's time to go after Jordan. So you get where I'm coming from, ladies and gentlemen. Corey is showing us a nuance in his game he didn't show us prior. Okay, he didn't show this to us prior at all. Okay, even when Big T was brought in by the tribunal, Corey was consoling her. I mean, this is arguably the best game we'll ever see from Corey, because I think after this, people will know the game he can play, right? Like, everyone always looked at him as the dumb guy who made emotional decisions himself. Now he's like, I'll let Nelson be that archetype, and I'll just be he can be my shield. Everyone will go for him first all the time because they can't stand him. And I'll benefit from that, And I think he's utilizing this strategy very well, if I'm being honest with you. So at the end of the day, first of all, Nelson is right about Kayla, okay? She is a slag, okay? Second of all, it's hilarious that he apologized to Anissa and then went right back on it to shit on her, shit on Kayla. And third, I have a huge problem with how production paints Nelson in such a negative light for the same shit they give heroic music to Zach and Jordan for. This is just another subtle hint to how they have pre-existing biases towards pets. And more specifically, white players, Caucasian players. These players get preferential treatment and editing spin at every turn, no matter how they treat women, no matter how they treat people of ethnic descent, no matter how they treat anyone, okay? I'm shocked that they're even showing the FaceTime footage of Zach talking to Jenna that way. But they probably felt like they had to show it to provide some context as to why people thought Jenna would lose by so much to Tori. So their hand was forced in throwing Zach under the bus. And they probably didn't like the fact Zach was trying to talk Jenna into straight up quitting the season, because that takes a competition away. That takes a competitor away. And honestly, that kind of shits on the investment MTV made in Jenna when they brought her to whatever island or whatever place that they're competing at, right? So I think this may be a turning point for production to take Zach off the production pet list entirely. So if Zach does play a future season, it will be very key and very important for us to pay very close attention to see how production portrays him. Because if they start making him look like Nelson, then we know this is the straw that broke the camel's back. If they continue to give him heroic music for being essentially a misogynistic type being, then we'll know the agenda, and we'll know that they are still on code and they've learned nothing from these protests, and we'll also know that they're full of shit for painting D in the light that they painted her. Now, we know the D part is full of shit, but we just don't know if the rest of it just yet is full of shit because they want us to believe they've turned a corner. So this will be very important for us to pay attention to heading into the future, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so I think all these other players and all these other women, I think they deserve apologies too, you know? If y'all can all jump on code and tell Nelson he ain't shit. And let me really get deeper into Bear. Because I feel like Bear, right after this scene, he tells the world he's in love with Kayla. Do any of y'all believe that? Do any of y'all believe that? After the way he did Georgia, do any of y'all believe that? I don't think any of y'all buying that bullshit, right? So I think he's being condescending towards the audience to use the L word and to say that he's in love with this girl. Because, look, ask any dude in any hood, in any suburb for that matter, if he is in love with a girl and some dude talks that reckless to her and calls her a hoe, fuck this season, I'm beating your ass. Send me home. Turbo got sent home for less than that. And that was just off honor and GP that he went at Jordan, because Jordan, he was trying to cash a check, he was trying to write a check his tush couldn't cash, right? So Turbo matched that energy, and he was the one that they went ahead and disciplined for just responding, right? In this situation, you got Bear talking about, what porta potty? What are you talking about? And the thing is, I'm looking at Bear like, bro, how can you question Nelson's knowledge on Kayla's past when Nelson has been on the challenge way longer than you have, Bear? Bro, look, I get it, Bear. You trying to get something tonight. So you're trying to keep the illusion you care about this girl. I know the game, my G. I know the game. But the way you going about playing it makes you look like a sucker, because we know in a future season you ain't gonna give a crap about Kayla and you gonna move on to another chick. And I highly doubt you gonna say you love that other chick, right? But if he does say it again, we'll know he's being redundant, we'll know he's being repetitive, and we'll know he's full of shit even further. So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, they give confessionals of Big T and Bear throwing Nelson under the bus more. You know, I pretty much got into that. As well. And then you got the part when Josh chimes in and tries to tell Nelson, and this is where we gotta expose Josh. I know business. We gotta expose this bum. Oh, and please believe, when BB22 kicks off, I dare Josh. I dare you to show up on that All-Stars roster. Boy, my Patreon gonna be booming like Metro, coach. I dare you to show up on All-Stars. I am gonna fry that boy like a filet. I'm telling y'all right now, it's finna get real in the field. And this is another reason why I want to finish this season, okay? Because I want to come in to BB22 knowing everything about Josh at 35. You feel it, dig me? And it's funny because everyone's telling me, Dave, man, we gotta hear your rants again, man. Josh, man, he up to no good. Everything you said about this guy has come to fruition, bro. It's like all the people who said that you have some personal problem with him, even they are admitting you were right about him, dog. You know? And see, that's the thing about my rants, ladies and gentlemen. They age like fine wine, yo. Get the chalice out. You feel me? Hopefully ain't in a BB Can 6 chalice. Bing! But y'all get what I'm saying. Wink, wink when I say that. Now, anyway. And hopefully a woman named Maddie ain't passing it to you. But anyway. Josh chimes in. And he says Nelson went too hard on Kayla because she's a woman. Quote unquote. But didn't Josh go hard on Jess and BB19? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, we gonna call him out for all of his past transgressions? Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Because I'm one of the few people who cover the challenge who break down Big Brother in a type of light with great context and detail that is unmatched by anyone else, I am a type of person who could bring up others' past that others can't, right? I am someone who remembers certain things. I collect certain receipts for moments like this. Because this is once again Josh proving he's anti-black, and let me prove why. Now, not only did Josh go hard on Jess and BB19, didn't he also go hard on the first boot of BB19? Uh-oh, people forgot about her, didn't they, Dave? Let me explain. Ladies and gentlemen, There was a player on BB19, and let me paint the picture for you. Let me give you a 360-degree view of what happened. Essentially, the first HOH wasn't crowned yet, but Julie Chen, essentially the host of the show, she allowed people to run and grab a golden apple to be safe for a week, automatically. Josh runs and grabs that golden apple because he knew he would be an easy target because he didn't get along with nobody. Now, to my knowledge, I think all of this transpired before. It could have been before or after Paul was already part of the game and he had his immunity. But I know for a fact Josh, he wasn't feeling it. He wasn't feeling it. He knew if he didn't grab that golden apple, he would be eliminated. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, number one, it had an Adam and Eve type theme to the season. That's why the golden apple was there, okay? It was supposed to be the Garden of Eden, okay? You get where I'm going at with this. Now, there was a woman who was former military named Megan. She had like silverish, bluish, kind of purplish hair, white woman, late 20s, nice girl for all things considered. But I just don't think she was mentally prepared to play such a high-stress game like Big Brother. Josh was one of the reasons why her PTSD really ramped up, okay? He was the reason why. The type of stress he was putting her under by bullying her, because he wanted her to essentially crack and become the first target. Understand, that led to her quitting the game. Everyone that says Josh is this nice person, I'm a human being. Everybody that acts like Josh is this kind soul who wouldn't harm a fly seem to always omit and forget the fact that in order to win that $500,000 on BB19, he had to be so disrespectful, so condescending, and he had to be a complete bully to countless amounts of women that were on the opposite side of Paul's side. He had to prove and buck dance for Paul that he was his loyal henchman at every single step of the way. This led to him shitting on this girl, Megan. So imagine my surprise to see Josh chastising Nelson and telling him he's too hard on women when this dude is the reason why a former military girl's PTSD flared back up. So I'm stating all of this to show y'all that Josh is the most full of shit player I've ever seen. Because when smoke comes to him, he cries or he acts like a girl. One of the two. But then when another guy goes off on a woman and he actually tells her about herself, he doesn't resort to pots and pans. He doesn't resort to trying to make her PTSD flare up. Right? Nelson is fighting fire with fire. And once again, let me state this. It was all self-inflicted wounds that turned Kayla against Nelson because she had no business telling Nelson about the blind side of bananas. So at the end of the day, for Kayla to say that Nelson only has, didn't she say he only has 3 brain cells? Well, how many brain cells do you have for trusting him with that amount of information? So, once again, this is more proof that production will throw a black man under the bus in a heartbeat, and it's more proof that Josh will go out of his way to protect a white or Latin woman in a heartbeat. But when do you ever see Josh protecting a black woman? When do you ever see Josh protecting a black person? Never. In fact, the episode before, Jordan was very mean towards Bailey. Did we see a scene with Josh correcting Jordan on his improper etiquette or improper etiquette towards Bailey? No. So that's proof, ladies and gentlemen. If the man shitting on the woman isn't black, Josh finds a way to not be mad at it. And if the woman being shitted on is black, he finds a way to not be mad at it. But then if the person shitting on the woman is black, he's always mad at it. But he can shit on women while acting like he isn't black. Also, if the woman isn't black, he's mad at it. So I have shown you all through great detail and evidence that Josh is completely full of shit. Okay? He's completely full of shit. Okay? And it's a damn shame because he bullied his way to the end of BB19 and now he's trying to change the narrative and make it seem like he's some voice of the downtrodden. He's an underdog spokesperson. Boy, if you don't get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. And see, this is why I don't fuck with cats like Josh, bro. And this is why he's anti-black. I had an argument with a guy on Twitter who I'm cool with still. But at the end of the day, what I notice is he's super hard on Swaggy because Swaggy flaunts his money. But then again, when Josh last season told Paulie to his face what he has to say don't matter because he got more money than him, this same cat didn't have a problem with that. That's when I started to realize, oh, so you Latin fans, y'all biased too. You'll call out a black dude for having money, but you won't call out Josh for the same thing. You'll hold Swaggy to this high standard, and you won't hold Josh to a high standard, but you're more of a fan of Josh. How does that work? And see, once I start to realize this, that's when I realize, oh, that's why you hating so much on this brother Swaggy. I get it now. And honestly, I can't knock someone for rooting for someone just because they may share some ethnic background as that person. I mean, that's the reason why we rock with black players, right? So I'm not going to be a complete hypocrite here. But at the same time, I can't help but notice that black players are always held to a higher standard than their white counterparts. Every second, every turn, every move is extra scrutinized. But let that be a white player. There's always an excuse someone can find for them. Every time. You had CT compare Idris to a serial killer last season. Did we see MTV care? They even kept it in the edit. That's how much they didn't give a fuck. And that shows you how little they cared about Idris, a black man. Then you got Big T during this season being completely mistreated and targeted just because she's a black woman and everyone thinks she's an easy out. Let's keep it a bean. She's essentially in the Esther category this season. Everyone's treating her like Esther. Oh, Big T, she's so sweet, she's so cool, but I don't want her here. Pay attention, y'all. Now, Bear says, hold on. Let me not miss what I was saying. Hold up. Oh, I think I skipped that. My fault, ladies and gentlemen. My fault. I was on the Josh stuff and my stuff scrolled up and y'all know how it be. Now, so like I said, Josh will defend a non-black woman till the cows come home, but he never found the courage to defend Bailey when Jordan went off on her. He didn't think that was him going too hard on her. So this is further proof that Josh is okay with women being mistreated by men as long as the man doing it isn't black and the woman being shitted on is black, which is more proof he is anti-black. Now, the scene segues to Bear now trying to convince the world he's a knight in shining armor. I've already spoken on this, but at the end of the day, Bear's a fool. Now, everyone goes to the club. Now, this is what I want to talk about next. Oh my God. This is the whole Nany situation. Oh man, Nany. I mean, I don't know how people are a fan of this chick. And it's funny, the same people that like her like Josh. And it's only because of their ethnic background. It's not because of their gameplay. I ask people, what is it about their gameplay you like? They can't name anything. They can't. They can't come up with anything about them that's a redeemable quality. They can't. Look, man, I get it that some people are just nostalgic. But if she's playing the same game she played 5 years ago, 10 years ago, she's not going to get any better, coach. The rest of the players are only getting younger, coach. This is like watching a savvy old veteran. This is like watching a 40-year-old Vince Carter play with the Atlanta Hawks. And you're like, he getting some buckets, but he way past his prime. That's Nany. Let's keep it a bean. Now, I'm willing to admit Johnny Bananas is on his Tim Duncan shit. 2014 Tim Duncan shit. I'll give him that. But at the end of the day, man, Nany was never the princess who was promised, coach. Let's just really keep it a buck tonight. All right. Now, like I said, they go to the club. Nany is all over KC. Anissa approaches both of them, and she's just like, hey, yo, listen, KC got a girlfriend at home. This is looking a little trashy. Can y'all clean this up? Nany goes off on her. She goes off on Jenna. And I'm looking like, dang, you mad at Jenna? That let me know you getting way too hammered. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been so hammered in my life where I couldn't recognize who my real friends were. Somehow Nany couldn't recognize who her friends were, but she could still recognize Casey was the right woman for her. How does that work? Man, hey, Nany, it sound like you've been listening to a lot of T-Pain. I'm sprung, bout to get me. She got that strap on, about to put it on. You feel me? It sound like she been listening to a whole bunch of lesbian T-Pain. It don't make any sense, coach. Now, let's continue. I'm trying my best to stay on strategy here, but I really want to roast these people because it's been a while, y'all. I mean, give me a break, all right? So this essentially segues to them getting back to the house. Nany has transformed to Super Saiyan Ramen Noodle Cup Nany now. She's walking around, and the same people who were acting like Nelson was so repulsive beyond belief are now acting like all of the really hurtful things Nany is saying towards a black woman is somehow funny. Pay close attention to that, right? I'm willing to bet you if she went off on any other woman besides Anissa, let's say it was some other white woman, I think the majority of people that said it was funny wouldn't say it was funny. But that's my point, y'all. How can this same production crew keep D out of their edit because they're allies of black people, and then they air Nany shitting on Anissa's life for something Kayla does present day? And everyone in the house thinks it's funny. No one takes exception to it. No one can think for themselves. And people actually think Nany's a great character. People actually think she's a good person. With friends like that, you don't need enemies. And for Anissa to forgive her the morning after? Anissa. Man, you should have said, fuck you. You aired out my dirty laundry to the entire fucking house. Just cause you crying by my bedside, you ain't make me no breakfast, so obviously you ain't that damn remorseful. Let's keep it a bean. It ain't like she brought you a continental breakfast, coach. Eggs, bacon, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like she brought you a whole bunch of stuff so you could eat and really take in what she's saying. Like, all she did was put some eye drops in her face and then show up and get an Indian style and be like, I'm sorry about last night. Do you even remember last night, bitch? Serious question. And let's just keep it a bean. If anyone can go off on you like that, ladies and gentlemen, they never really fucked with you. Because they've been holding on to those emotions. They've been holding on to that hate of you for a long time, but they kept you close. Why? Because they wanted to use you for a number in the game. For Anissa to not diagnose this and to just make it seem like, oh, we have such a history together, I can never not be friends with you. Fuck all that. That history should have made Nany incapable of airing your dirty laundry out like that. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why Anissa wasn't in the Holy Trinity. There's a reason why it's not called the Holy Quartet. It's because she don't view you like that. And for her to use that against you while holding up Kayla as some holier than thou figure when she has a OnlyFans account, it just goes to show Nany is as tone deaf as anyone else, because Nany's the first person to act like, oh, you can't do that to a woman. And then you just did some Nelson shit to a woman. Matter of fact, all the shit Nelson said to Anissa the episode before pales in comparison to what Nany did. But once again, Nelson's the big bad wolf because he's a black man. Anissa can be shitted on by anyone who's a pet because she's a black woman. And Josh don't care. Did Josh say anything to Nany when she shitted on Anissa? Do you see my point, y'all? I'm backing this up well. And I'm a little rusty, coach. You know, when I get into my second rantcast back, I'm going to be a lot better in terms of having my arguments well crafted and stuff. But I think I'm giving y'all a classic one regardless, because this is what I do. I got the 45 jersey on. I'm dropping 55 in the garden. That's what I'm about. You feel it, dig me? Now, so like I mentioned, the tribunal essentially, they invite Big T, D, and Kayla. They don't choose either one of those three because Jenna volunteers to go into purgatory. She faces Tori head up. And this is where the most comical part of this entire rant begins. Because you got Tori, who's being built up as this big, bad female competitor, right? Everybody is acting like she's already won a season when she ain't won shit. It's almost as if she's allowed to commandeer Jordan's Infinity Stone by proxy, the way people speak about her in Fear, right? Remember, Tori was the same girl who made D feel like shit last season simply because D threw up trying to keep up with them when they were working out. I remember these things. So Tori has this elitist mentality towards competitions, but she has one kryptonite: puzzles. Anything that involves critical thinking, she folds. We saw it in the finale last season. That was heavily rigged for one side. That wasn't Paulie and Kara's side, but that's neither here nor there. You can go and watch those rants if you want to revisit that. But at the end of the day, coach, let's really keep it a bean here. Tori completely choked this challenge away. And seeing Jordan throw temper tantrum after temper tantrum like a kid who lost his favorite action figure down the damn storm drain. This motherfucker was, "You're not listening." This dude was running back and forth. Bruh, hey man, listen, I thought this man was gonna lose his mind. I thought he was gonna blow up for real, bro. I thought he could steal off somebody. Like for real, with the Scary Movie 2 hand. I thought he was gonna steal off somebody. That's how mad Buddy was, coach. Dude was salty, B. Too salty. Man had to have high blood pressure. And to be fair to him, when I don't want to be fair to him, but I'm unbiased, and that's why they call this recency bias radio. Tori, if she would have just listened to Jordan, she would have demolished Jenna. I'd argue the way Tori performed in this competition, it looked like she didn't want to stay in the bunker no more. It looked like she was ready to go home. It looked like she was ready to go. Bro, she out here fitting stuff in between the damn holes. I'm like, what the hell is this chick doing? And they're trying to explain to her, "Tori, that takes way too long." She's like, "No, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to put each one in like a Jenga piece, and they're going to stack upon each other. That's going to take forever." Eventually, she decides, all right, I got to do it the way Jenna's doing. Let me get these bricks, boy. I got bricks. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to Gucci Mane, 1017 Brick Squad. Boom, boom, boom. She just starts smashing bricks. And see, I'd argue half of this competition was puzzle, half was physical. So naturally, Tori has the advantage from a physical standpoint. But if she chokes at all in the puzzle half of it, she is destined to lose. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, she was able to make this a very close battle. But the problem is, because both of them thought they were so close to finishing the comp, they started taking half of a wheelbarrow at a time, and they started flipping it into these vats to try to get it up to the line. And that's the funniest part about this all. If she would have just listened to Jordan and just filled up one up to the top, she probably could have kept herself from 3 trips, maybe. But that's the thing. You're under pressure. You're hearing people shouting all of these suggestions. You're trying to come up with a strategy for yourself. You're not really trying to rely on an audience, that type of thing. And keep in mind, everyone was mad at Wes when he helped D win. Remember that? But when Jordan yells and helps his fiance, nobody's mad. Because both of them are production pets. D wasn't a production pet. So everyone had a stinker about Wes, a production pet, helping a non-production pet, who they eventually made the face for anti-black racism. It all comes back full circle, y'all. I'm just the best at this, yo. Hey, look, I ain't trying to be cocky. I'm trying to stay humble with it, but bruh, I didn't know how this rant would go. But now I feel like I'm on fire at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, man, this was arguably a top 5 moment of this season. Seeing Tori completely fall on her face. Seeing Jenna refuse to fall on her sword to go back to shitty-ass Zach. I thought this was very empowering. For an episode that was full of a lot of woman bashing, coming from women and men, it was good to see a good woman. I view Jenna as a good woman. Okay, I'm not trying to kiss kneecaps. I'm not trying to kiss ass. I'm just saying, I view her as a good woman because she's loyal to a man. Even when her man cheats on her, she still tries to give him another chance, right? You don't really see Jenna out here trying to be seen with other dudes, right? So even if she was flirting with someone, man, I highly doubt there's any video or photo evidence of her cheating, right? Because she conducts herself like a true grown woman would, right? So it's great to see her not fall on her sword to go back to that guy. Because let's be real, she probably feels like, all right, my dude, if Zach wants to tell me it's not our house, it's his house, I need this million more than I need him. I'm staying here. And that's the type of stuff I support. So even though it may seem like I'm hard on women here, I'm hard on Josh there, I ain't with that moist shit, understand, I'm someone who understands every situation is very fluid. Nothing is A and B or black and white. No pun intended. You feel me? Everything is a unique circumstance and a unique situation, isolated incident that must be judged on an isolated basis. That's how I attack everything. But I do use past events if it contradicts with what someone is saying in the present, in the future. I will use past events to show that they're full of crap. Now, people can change, but you cannot be the guy who hasn't changed a lick since Big Brother and then tell Nelson he needs to change his ways. You can't be that guy. And that's why Josh gets called out. That's why Nany gets called out, because both of them have no other pitch. The only pitch they throw is the fastball, right? Look, if you got a great fastball, you don't need another ball. Okay? That's what they say in baseball. But let's be real. Everybody with a great fastball needs what, ladies and gentlemen? A good breaking ball. Or at least a good changeup. Maybe a good splitter if you really got it in you. Right? I'm talking that real shit tonight. Nany and Josh have no pivoting prowess, meaning they don't have any other pitches they can throw. You see what I'm saying? So if they're not striking you out, they're probably hitting you with the ball. That's their game, right? That's their game. You know, there's only two ways they can go about it. Either they throw it at you and hit you and they get you and you get on base because they made a dumb decision, or they get lucky and they strike you out, but they only have one pitch, so they can't do it consistently. You see what I'm saying? That 100% is a one-to-one comparison to their type of gameplay styles, and that's why I criticize them to a high level, okay? Now, let's just call it what it is. Jenna wins due to massive incompetence on Tori's behalf, and Jordan throws a temper tantrum. You know, he runs down, he hugs her, he takes the ring off his finger with his mouth. I was like, well, you nasty, coach. I understood why he did it, though. But at the end of the day, Tori was talking to him like she was the man in the relationship, and he was the woman. You know what I'm saying? And they keep trying to force this wedding, this forced engagement down our throats. You notice that? But, you know, I really don't see Jordan having the clout anymore to criticize any woman ever again for not competing hard enough in a challenge when his own wife-to-be ain't listening to his own advice and she didn't compete as hard as she could to stay in the game. So I think from this point forward, I really think Jordan doesn't have any ground to stand on when giving advice to women. I think this not only showed that Cara Maria is, without a doubt, leaps and bounds better than Tori as a game player. Let's just keep it a beam. When you talk about Cara Maria's just purgatory, proven ground, challenge record, and you talk about some of the people Tori has lost to, look, I know Tori has lost to Cam, okay? And I know she's beaten Jenny in a competition RBR believes was rigged for her to win. But at the end of the day, this L takes her back to the middle of the pack. And it really shows at the end of the day, the media, the production, they can hype you up to be a monster. But if you ain't willing to show the world that you're a monster, at the end of the day, you're nothing yet. And that's just what it is. You can't fast track anyone towards being a great player. They have to learn. And I think Corey taking a break, and I think him coming back as a refreshed player, I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing him as such a great player coming back, right? He needed that break. And that's just what it is. Meanwhile, look at Kayla. She takes a break and she's gotten no better. So, in closing, I'm proud of Jenna for not falling on her sword to be with her shitty boyfriend, and I'm even more happy that Tori has been sent to the Shadow Realm, coach. Corey even mentioned how vulnerable Jordan is before the credits rolled, which further tells me Corey is in control of the game as of now, ladies and gentlemen. Next episode will be a double elimination, meaning the next rant will be double the trouble, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism, and this has been the 7th rant of Challenge Total Madness, entitled Photo Finish. I hope you all have enjoyed yourself here. If you would like to see more rants concerning concerning the Challenge 35. Please feel free to show up to my Patreon at www.patreon.com/recency bias radio, and that's when videos just like the one you are watching now will be published in rapid succession. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I'm behind. I'm going to be watching episodes, and I'm going to be giving out a lot of content in the next few days. And there's a challenge episode tomorrow as well, where I heard it's going to be a double hall brawl of some sort. So I'm trying to catch up before that happens. Most likely I won't be able to do that many rants before then, but hopefully I'll see y'all around the Patreon. Until next time.